One question we get all the time is, are you a fiduciary? And we're going to break that down today. Yes, we are a fiduciary, but we're going to break that down that may not be enough of an answer to get someone to work with you. You need to know more is what we're going to explain today. And we're going to explain what questions you should be asking when working with a financial advisor to making sure they're truly acting in your best interest, which is what a true fiduciary means.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So one question we get all the time is, hey, are you a fiduciary? And I like that question. I think it's a very valid question. I think it's a great question, but I don't really know if it's enough. Obviously, yes, you want to work with someone who's going to act in your best interest. That's what a fiduciary does. And I think when it comes to your life savings, I don't know if that's even a question we have to ask, because shouldn't you just expect that? I mean, I kind of think of a doctor. If I go to a doctor, I'm not going to ask them, are you a fiduciary? I mean, they're going to act in my best interest if they're a good person, right? So unfortunately, though, I mean, that's what we'd hope and expect. But unfortunately, that's not always the case, especially when it comes to financial planning, because there's a lot of people out there that are truly in it for their own good and for their own greed, and that's not necessarily the best thing. But the good news is yes, there is fiduciary advisors out there, but I want to share some examples with you of, even though if someone says they're a fiduciary, there could be some still gray area that you need to be aware of. And so we're going to give you some things to look at, when working with a fiduciary, of what else to look for to ensure that they are truly act in your best interest, but more so willing to go the extra mile for you, willing to have the expertise to truly serve you at the level of service that it takes for retirement planning is what we're going to talk about here today. So let me just share an example with you of how we explain it, to our clients or those who looking to work with us when they ask that we're fiduciary. We basically say, obviously, yes. So, currently we have 7 financial planners that are all fully licensed fiduciary advisors. And so with that, it's not necessarily, that's the barrier of entry in my mind. It's what else do you do beyond that? So when I was with a company first starting out, great company, but they were captive. And so I could still say I was a fiduciary, but I couldn't offer all the solutions out there. And so if I had a client come to me and say, hey, I want this investment, I had to either tell them, hey, we can't offer it. You can go down the street, which that's no good. Who likes to turn down helping someone? That didn't sit well with me. And the only other thing I could do is say, hey, sorry, we can't offer you that one, but maybe we could offer you this one. It may not be as good, but that's all I can do. And that doesn't sit with me very well as well. And so what I decided at that point is to go independent, where we can be a true fiduciary in my mind of offering any solution out there. So that's not an indication to tell if you're a fiduciary or not, if do you have all of the access to all the opportunities out there. It's just simply saying, are you going to be willing to act in the best interest? So I don't think that's in the best interest. I don't think it's in the best interest of the client if you are captive and you can't offer all the solutions out there. You can have all the goodness in your heart, but you don't have the opportunities, then is that client truly going to get what they need? And so that's where I come from of, hey, what is the true definition of a fiduciary? And I think we have to create that own definition ourselves, because I don't think the regulated body has done a good enough job of dictating and detailing out what it actually looks like to be a fiduciary. Now, they are doing a better job of this, and they are starting to crack down more on people making sure that they deliver a higher level of service, but it's just not there yet, in my opinion. So the other thing we really have to look out for is what level of service are they offering? For example, we get a lot of advisors, a lot of people who come work with us who are already working with an advisor who maybe all they're doing is investment management. Now, investment management is important, but for us, it's only one out of the 5 pillars that we think are important to have a comprehensive retirement plan. Investment planning is important, but you also have to worry about income planning. Where are we going to get this income for the rest of our life, knowing that we're no longer working, right? That's a big deal. And not only figuring out which investments we're going to take out from, but when to take Social Security, what to do with our pension. How are we going to do it from a tax efficient standpoint? Which accounts are we going to take from, and what's the tax impact? All goes into that income plan. So if you have someone just doing investments, they may not be helping you with that. They may also not be helping you with healthcare planning, right? What about long-term care? What about Medicare when I turn 65 or stop working? How does the Medicare Part B and D premiums, how does that cost of that, depend on our income? And so if our income's higher, we may have to pay more for healthcare. We want to make sure we have an all-encompassing plan that looks into that. We want a plan that involves estate planning, someone that is going to be willing to collaborate with an attorney to make sure you get the right documents in place, to ensure that the money you want to leave behind to maybe your spouse or your kids is done in the most tax efficient way, so Uncle Sam doesn't have to be the beneficiary of those accounts. Again, if it's only investment management, is someone going to help you with that? And then the other pillar, which I believe is one of the most important, is tax planning. What are we going to do to pay the least amount of taxes in retirement? Most people come to us and say, I feel like I'm overpaying in taxes. Now, I know there's some strategies and things I can do, but I just don't know what to do. You don't know what you don't know is typically what they're telling us. And so we need to make sure we have a plan for that. And in my opinion, taxes are going to be the biggest expense in your retirement. How do we find ways to pay the least amount possible there? So again, back to my point that I made and that I'm making here is that if you just have one person that does one of those 5 things, are you really going to have someone act in your best interest? Now, if you're paying a lower fee for that investment management, maybe you're only paying 10 to 30 basis points, then maybe it makes sense. Okay, but if you're paying a full fee, which most people are, they're paying 1% or around 1%, and that's just in the management fee, not including internal expenses, not including potential platform fees. And if that's the case, you may be overpaying, and you're paying a full price for 1/5 of the service. So with us, for example, let's say that most of our clients pay 1% or less all in is typically what that looks like. Well, if 1/5 of it is investment planning, they're typically only paying about 0.2% or so, so on, depending on what other services they need. But you're getting the point is, do we really want to pay this fiduciary advisor to only manage our investments? I don't feel that's in our best interest unless it's a reduced cost. Now, if you're okay doing all the planning on your own and you just want investment management, hey, there's a lot of opportunities out there where you can get professional investment management, which I think is extremely important. Unless you're doing all the due diligence and checking the stocks and have the right calculations in place to detail out what the balance sheets of these companies show that you're investing in. If you're just throwing darts, then I would highly suggest you pay someone to help you. But it may not have to be that full price. Is ultimately what we're trying to encourage and educate people of. So my point is that person can say they're a fiduciary. I don't think that's a fiduciary. If we're charging the same fees, and they're doing one thing and we're doing 5 things, who do you think's actually acting in that client's best interest? Who do you think, when that client's paying that fee, who do you think's actually going to get what's best for them? And so that's what I want to challenge you to do, is work with a team who's going to do comprehensive planning for you, who is going to make sure they're working for that fee. And then at the end of the day, obviously making it come back to, is the decisions they're making in your interest or theirs? That is a non-negotiable. But again, I want to think even past that and think, what is getting done? Is the actual things getting done? You can have a great person with a great heart, but are they going to be the best leader for your financial plan moving forward, is a question that you have to ask yourself. So I think that is a good one to get you thinking there. And we see a lot of companies out there that play around in that. We just do investment management. If you need tax help, go see your CPA. We don't do that. We're not going to give you any guidance there. Well, a financial planner, if they're a certified financial planner, for example, tax planning is one of the courses that they took. So that's not something they should know enough to give guidance and feedback of what to do. They shouldn't just direct you straight to the CPA. They should be doing the planning, and then at the end of the year, they should be providing all the tax reports from all your accounts. They should be listing out detailed analysis of, hey, CPA, here's what needs done. So you need that collaboration. Again, we also look at it with the attorney, making sure you have your advisor work with the attorney to say, hey, here's the documents that need done. Let's make sure we do this the right way. Here's the client's goals. What am I missing? What can the attorney come into play? And then you collaborate. You need all those professionals collaborating to ensure that's the right thing. And that's something we see missed in our industry, is that you've got everyone working in different places. When you go in to see each of your professionals, you're having to start from scratch. You're having to tell them from A to Z of everything that you want them to know. Well, what if you had a team that all they had to do is communicate together to ensure that they knew exactly what was going on, and then you not only had one mind, but you had 3 minds working together on that plan to ensure that you get all the right things structured and all in one place. And so that's the other thing I think is important is, if you're going to be paying for this financial planning service in retirement, make sure it's going to be the one that's going to be most valuable is my point there. And again, the 5 pillars is a great place to start, as you're looking for what you're looking for here. So again, to kind of summarize what we talked about today is, look, the fiduciary term is a little watered down, if you ask me. I think there's too many advisors out there that use it as a marketing pitch, and I don't think that's right. I think if we're really true good advisors and mean good things, well, then that should be assumed that we are a fiduciary. The question becomes of how are you doing your work, and what kind of services are you providing beyond that? So yes, everyone should be a fiduciary, and I don't think you should work with anyone who is not. Typically what we're seeing is, some people are just insurance salespeople, and so they may, talk about financial planning in a workshop, they may talk about tax planning, they may talk about all these ideas and make you think that they do that, but really it's just a sales pitch to get you to say, hey, come buy this annuity from me, come buy this life insurance from me, come buy this long-term care insurance from me so I can get my commission. And then if you get a commission, you're not required to serve that client ongoing. You just have to service that product ongoing. Whereas if you're paying an advisor a fee ongoing, well, now they're going to be required to meet with you at least once a year, which we still see that advisors don't do that, which blows my mind. But that should be a non-negotiable. Something we do with our clients is we do quarterly touch points. So every quarter we're reaching out to our clients with some sort of value add. We're not just calling them and saying, hey, how's everything going? Hope the weather's good over there. But we are doing that because we enjoy our clients and building relationships. But we want to make sure that we can be proactive. What tax law changes are coming up that we need to be prepared for? What strategies do we need to implement at that time that are going to be most useful for them? For example, obviously everyone knows about I-bonds, right? So something we did during that time is we told all of our clients about I-bonds, took money out of our management to put money with the Treasury Direct.gov, and where they could get that 9.62% interest rate was a great opportunity with no risk at that time. So that's something that we want to encourage you that when you're working with your advisor, make sure they're being proactive as well. That goes into this conversation to ensure you truly get what's in your best interest. So again, this is your life savings. I mean, this is what you've worked hard for 40 years. We always talk about that mountain analogy. Going up the mountain, that's what you've done all these years. And it's been hard work. I mean, it's not been super complex. It's been saving into your accounts, making sure you're diligent there, making sure you're not overspending, making sure you're avoiding high interest debt. But there's not a lot of complexity to the planning while you're going up the mountain. But when you start to come down the mountain, it's really where it starts to become more complex because you're worried about all those 5 pillars I talked about, but you're also worried about not having an income anymore. And now 1 or 2 or 3 mistakes within retirement can be extremely costly because you're not having any income to make up for it. This is all you've got at this point. And yes, the market can grow, your investments can grow, but is it gonna, what if the market's down and you need to withdraw money from there? Well, now that's what we call a double loss concept. And do we have the time to make that up over your retirement? And what happens if we have a 30-plus year retirement? And so, again, these are all the concerns that we're typically seeing people have. But the good news is if you've done your work to this point, you may not necessarily need more money at this point. You may just need a better plan. You just maybe need a plan to make sure you can avoid risk, make sure you're not overpaying in taxes, make sure you can, if a market downturn happens, you can be less impacted by that so that you can ensure that your plan is good to go moving forward. So to go ahead and wrap up here, my end thought is just make sure you're working with a fiduciary and someone who's going to deliver that high level service to you that you can feel confident in, that is going to make sure you get delivered on with what your retirement plan is. So hopefully that helps you there. If you are looking for further guidance from a fiduciary team who does that high level service and you feel that we offer that, based on what you've seen here, or if you watched other videos or listened to other podcasts, then you're more than welcome to schedule a time with our team to see if we can give you any guidance. But again, even if it's not us, just work with someone like us that does this type of work. You may already be having a team that does all this, and if so, these videos should be very confirming and verifying for you to know that you're doing the right thing. And you need to make sure you let your advisor know that they're doing the right thing is what I would recommend there. So hopefully that's helpful. But if you would like to schedule, there's a link in the description, and feel free to schedule time. You can go to our website as well and schedule a time there as well. So we look forward to potentially hearing from you there, and we'll make sure the next podcast, next YouTube video is out there for you. So go ahead and subscribe to this page, and we'll keep them coming here.
Since we do not know your specific situation, none of this information can serve as tax, legal, insurance, or financial advice and may be outdated or inaccurate. The information comes from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed. This content is prepared for educational purposes only. If you need advice, please contact a qualified CPA, attorney, insurance agent, financial advisor, or the appropriate professional for the subject you would like help with. Peak Retirement Planning, Inc. is an Ohio-based registered investment advisor and able to offer advisory services in Ohio and in other states where registered or exempt from registration.